No oversight authority. Now, if you have a square peg in a round hole, an incompetent appointed by the police commissioner in his sole discretion, that person is not going to appeal the decision that I am a square peg in a round hole. So what you will do, you put power into the hands of the police commissioner to appoint people who may not be the best person for the position. The reverse is that somebody else could say, I was overlooked. But that could be a long, drawn-out process. I'm speaking in terms of effective corporate governance, oversight, and execution. You've given complete power, as you want to put it, to the execution of policy in the hands of the police commissioner. But the determination of the senior management, the determination of the senior management ought to have some more review, in my opinion. And when you compare it to other effective organizations, that review is at the board, okay? And all the board has is the power of veto, you know. The board doesn't have the power to select, but the board says, well, did you really consider X, Y, Z? Is this person the best man for the job? Have you considered the other 3 persons to fill the position? And so there is none of that. And I think that after, in reviewing, we are in the early stages of the game. But 5 years from now or 10 years from now, what you will see is maybe we have swung the pendulum too far in the process of recruitment. I have no problems with the execution of policy. Let the commissioner do that, by all means. But law is about giving effect to policy, as I understand it. If policy is wrong, what you could do is essentially make all the wrong decisions by approving the law. And therefore, now when we're looking at law, we're also, in a sense, saying, well, does this law properly reflect what we want to do at the end game, which is greater efficiency and effectiveness in the delivery of these services? So while I hear my young friend speak about the law and the task force and all of those things, the whole idea for the review at this point in time is to look again and see whether we may have missed certain things. And if we have, let us move to correct those things early in the game. I do not like the idea of a police commissioner being everything unto himself as far as the question of what the senior ranks of the police commission of the police service should look like. And it's very important. You make a wrong decision, which Parliament sometimes does, in terms of the determination of who should be the police service commissioner. And he is not reportable or accountable to anyone about those decisions. So now you end up creating a police service where it might be very difficult to reverse where the service goes. And I am extremely concerned about that, because you have a wide wedge of senior management below the deputy commissioner. And that is the grouping that really runs the police service. I mean, the commissioner spends more time now on strategy and oversight and so on. If we see him going to some marijuana field, arriving on a helicopter and so on, that is more PR than execution. That is after the job is done. So I just want to put that in the mix, because we're not talking law in isolation. We're talking about law to give effect to policy, and policy to be translated into implementation and execution. So you need to see the whole ambit.
Thank you. Okay, Dan. I just want to raise one other issue quickly, and it deals with the issue of recruitment and selection. And I'm throwing it out because the Law Review Commission is here, and as well as the Office of the AG. And that is the issue of the recruitment and selection under the current provisions of the Constitution and the legal notices, the previous process, proved to be quite costly. And there is a suggestion that perhaps we need to review that process. In fact, the Secretariat has produced a document involving two options. One of which is a radical position, and another one which is to modify the current process so that the cost in the long run of recruitment and selection and recruitment can be substantially reduced. I'm just throwing it out for consideration. And Ms. Cheeseman just indicated to me that she would like to make a presentation now. So I want to facilitate her as we continue to discuss some of these issues that her presentation actually may reflect on.
Okay, good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. All protocols observed. I don't know if it's good to talk about these challenges before or after lunch, because, you know, challenges is a word that has a negative connotation to it. But at the end of the day, we have to view challenges as opportunities. And, you know, it is our hope that as we share these with you, that, you know, somehow or the other, we may be able to identify some area that we may be able to render some support to the PSC and its secretariat so that we can overcome these challenges. Now, the DPA in her presentation would have identified most of all of, you know, what I'm going to share with you, but, you know, it's good for you all to hear it from us, because then you may appreciate how much it impacts on our mandate. And so by way of introduction, the PSC remains committed to its constitutional mandate to monitor and review the performance and actions of the COP, DCOPs, and by extension, the police service, for the purpose of enhancing the safety and the security of citizens. The PSC is dependent on its support arm, its secretariat, to ensure mandate is effectively executed. However, both the PSC and our secretariat are faced with, you know, certain challenges that are impacting on our ability to really execute on our mandate. And these are the constraints of the PSCS, the Police Service Commission Secretariat, manpower deficiencies, budgetary restrictions, and adequate accommodation. And they might sound like just 3 issues, but at the end of the day, these 3 issues have such a, you know, such an enormous impact that, you know, it really is, you know, having a negative impact on the work that we have to do. I also want to mention that I served on the Police Service Commission, the previous one, during the period 2007 to 2010. And some of these issues existed even then, and they still continue today. So whatever structures or legislation, I mean, somebody mentioned a service commission's authority, whatever we need to do something, and we need to do it now. So let me just talk about the manpower deficiencies. We have an understaffed secretariat. We have a recruitment process that is too protracted. And we have a performance appraisal system, and we're talking here not of the commissioner and his deputies, we're talking about our secretariat staff now, that cannot be effectively implemented. Next slide. This is the structure that would have been approved for the Police Service Commission Secretariat. Sorry, you may not be able to read all the positions there, but we have the PSC at the top with the DPA just below. We have a Director Monitoring, Evaluation and Education, who is supported by these different arms. We have a legal section. We have an appeals body, Senior HR Advisor. This is what the structure looks like. However, that structure, it contains 42 approved positions. To date, only 25 of those positions have been filled, and we still have 17 of them being vacant. And so this is to give you an idea of what we're facing right now. On the side of approved, that is what the structure would have. To date, we don't have a case management officer. We have none of the 4 transcription specialists that has been, you know, assigned, that we're supposed to have. Evaluation specialist, research specialist, financial analyst, none to date. The business operations assistants, we still have 3 to get. We have no retired judge, the senior attorneys, we don't have all these are positions that could support our appeal section that, you know, our office, some of our members up till all hours of the night researching and whatever. This is the kind of support that we need. No HR advisor, data processing operator, none to date. Audit analyst, none to date. Legal researcher, none. Senior legal officer, none. And folks, these are very, very critical positions to really support the Police Service Commission. And the fact that we don't have all these, you know, all these positions continue to be vacant, it really is impacting our ability to execute. What I also want to say, I mentioned earlier, the recruitment process is too protracted. And let me give you an example. We would have interviewed and selected in December 2010 a person for the position of communication specialist. We only got that person on board in October 2011, 9 months after. The junior legal officer, I remember some of my fellow commissioners, we would have sat on some of the interviews to be sure that we, you know, bring in the right people. We don't have any square pegs and round holes, bringing the right people in the secretariat. In June, well, things have improved because in June we would have interviewed and gotten, you know, selected a junior legal officer. But from June to now, that person came on board yesterday. So, you know, even though, so when you do go through this selection process, then you have a whole lot of waiting now before you could actually have the person on board. And at the end of the day, I mean, this is how I see it. If it is you have an approved structure, to me it's just a case of filling that structure, you advertise, you interview, you select. But apparently even after the selection process, there's another process that has to take place all over again where the name has to go back to some division and, you know, so this is where we need support. Could we change these structures and all these bureaucracies so that, you know, things could move a little faster? I mentioned too the performance appraisal, you know, the ability to really to enforce that. So a lot of the positions within the structure are contract positions. And I must say, we have a team of persons, some of them really, really committed there. We have to double up. Even we are the PSC, we have to be doing things that, you know, the Secretariat should be supporting with because they are understaffed, right? So we get involved in some of the nitty-gritties as well. But even at the level of the Secretariat, we have some people doubling up and doing more than is expected of them. But on the other hand, there are some square pegs and round holes. But we need them so much, even if they're given 40%, we had to take them as it is, because if you were to say, let's sever the contract, what it would mean, you know, at that time when it's time to renew the contract, what it would mean is that we short again, and then the 25 positions will start to dwindle, and we don't even know when, you know, we will get somebody else to come. So you're forced now from a performance appraisal, from that light, to settle for what you have in the hope that, you know, we continue to guide and mentor and what have you to try to get them to come up to standard. So these are some of the other issues that come up as a result of these manpower deficiencies. So that is that. In terms of the inadequate accommodation, first of all, location. We're located on Queen Street. Now, for an organization like ours, it really, I mean, I know some people might want to argue that where is it safe, you know, but it's almost as though we're there by a hotspot because sometimes our staff, they will tell you, they exit the building and they may see somebody grabbing a chain right on the Queen Street there. You know, it's really not the best location for an institution such as ours. In terms of security, we have appeals going on within the building now. So it's really, you know, we don't have adequate security for a function like that to be going on. In terms of parking, sometimes, you know, I have to try and reach, say, before Mr. Parker so that I could surely get one of the 3 or 4 spots that we have in front of the building. I mean, you're coming there to do national service. At the end of the day, I mean, I feel very proud of the team, you know, the PSC team and the Secretariat, how we're so committed to wanting to really make a difference in the best way we can. But when you come now and you can't get a park and you have to circle a couple of times, you know, it impacts. The condition of the building. The office space is inadequate. We have problems with lighting. I mean, I know it's good to have your daily exercise, but walking up 3 flights of the escalators because they're not working, sometimes it's not the, it's not the best thing when you're coming there to try to get down to business right away, right? The quality of the air, I don't know, there seems to be a problem. People falling ill every now and then. I think Dr. Rai mentioned somebody had bronchitis. 2 persons with bronchitis. We don't have a little library that, we could stock some of the research material that we want. So all of these are challenges that, folks, we have really, really risen to the occasion in terms of still delivering under these circumstances. But we could do much more if it is we could, get these things rectified. And these are problems that have been recurring. It's been happening for a while now, and it really is time that we need to, get these things properly managed. In terms of the budget, I think I probably skip that slide kind of quickly. There were 2 concerns with respect to the budget. One being that we don't have a police service commission budget. What we have is a budget for all the service commissions lumped into one. So in terms of us being able to properly plan what it is we want to do, we don't know if we have money to do it. And then there's this bureaucratic process where, but no, it's not a challenge to the DPA, but really the system, where if you need to get something approved, it has to go up there, she has to approve it, a form has to come back down, and, all of this really, really does take away from the, the impact that we want to make. So I think it's time that we separate this budget, this system that we have. It's really one of the structures one of the systems we have to really look at and have. I don't know if the other commissions have the same problem that we have, but we would have really liked to see a PSC budget where our director monitoring or, our secretariat will be empowered to be